We've never had more ways to connect, and yet we're experiencing a loneliness epidemic. The kind that makes you feel alone in a crowded room. Something's clearly not right. Here's the thing. Technically, we do live in the most connected era in history, which is great because it gives us instant access to people, knowledge, and opportunities all across the world, making life faster, easier, and more collaborative than ever before. But a lot of our connection nowadays is like fast food. It's easy, convenient, but it doesn't nourish you. Today, we're not going to unpack the usual lazy advice, like just put yourself out there or just be more social, as if loneliness is a scheduling problem, or pretend and convince you that technology is the villain. Yes, technology and social media plays a role, but the real issue runs much deeper. Instead, we're going to unpack 3 underlying reasons why I believe loneliness shows up even when we are surrounded by people. And as you listen, I want you to feel what resonates with you the most. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Luckan, and I help ambitious, future-conscious people and leaders make better decisions and build holistic success across the core pillars of life in a rapidly changing world. The first reason is what I call the persona problem, which is where you portray an artificially engineered version of yourself to the world that no longer matches your authentic self. And when I say authentic, I don't mean staying the same, like this is just who I am. Being authentic from my perspective is aligning your thoughts and behaviors to the person you want to become. At some point, you may have built a certain persona to fit into certain environments, to perform better or get rewarded. This happens naturally because we respond and adapt to what gets attention, respect, and approval. And it works. You become more likable. But here's the issue. That artificially engineered version of yourself is what's getting attention, not the real you. And that's how the congruence gap widens, which is the distance between the self you show and the self you truly are. As a result, this is where it gets strange emotionally. You see, your brain registers that as a win, and you're like, wow, that went well. And you get that dopamine hit and relief. But your heart doesn't feel the same. There's that friction because your heart knows something that your brain is trying to ignore, which is they liked the performance, but not the real me. This is what results in what I call the glass wall effect. It's where you are interacting, but not actually connecting because of this invisible barrier. Real connection needs chemistry and authenticity. It needs room to be a little messy and the courage to be vulnerable. But when you're busy performing this artificially engineered version of yourself, spontaneity disappears. And without that, connection stops being something you truly experience and turns into something you try to manage. And later, when you're alone, you can't even explain why you're feeling lonely, because objectively, things went well. And over time, without even realizing it, you can end up in the paradox of validation, where the more you chase external approval, the less validated you truly feel. Unfortunately, you can get easily trapped here because this version of me works, therefore I need to keep on performing it. I mean, this persona can have a salary, reputation, expectations from others. What's even more brutal is that the deeper in you are, the harder it is to return to yourself. Returning to the real you starts feeling risky. This leads me to the second problem, which I call the transaction problem, where we've absorbed hustle culture so deeply that we treat relationships like business. We live in a world obsessed with optimization, goals, productivity, leverage, outcomes. And it can become easy for us to start evaluating people through that lens. Relationships turn into transactions where a person's value is measured by what they can do for you. You may not say it out loud, but the mental math creeps in. Is this person useful? Are they worth my time? Are they moving me forward or holding me back? Yes, in certain career and business contexts, these strategic relationships have their place. But when you apply it to friends, family, and romantic relationship, it just creates disconnect. And over time, this can result in relational poverty, which is where you have many contacts, but a few supportive relationships, leaving you socially connected but emotionally isolated. Because the deepest relationships are often built in moments that hustle culture dismisses as a waste of time. Just sitting together, laughing, doing nothing, checking in, being present, showing up when there's no benefit to you. When you lose that, sure, you have a network, but not a home. There's also a modern badge of honor we celebrate, being locked in. And yes, seasons of focus is absolutely essential to achieve your goals and build success. But the problem comes when locking in becomes a lifestyle of isolation, dressed up as a motivational quote. You've seen it, that dark, serious aesthetic of a lone man or wolf with cold aura, glorifying isolation as the only path to wealth. Perfect if you want to be rich enough to own the world, yet too alone to ever share it. Here's the truth. Short bursts of isolation can fuel a career or business, but long seasons of it can quietly break your life. I've met too many people who have climbed to the pinnacle just to walk back down because there was no one to share it with. And those who stayed turned cold, cynical, trapped in a vicious cycle where isolation, that feeling of being able to do it alone, is the only thing that gives them a fleeting sense of fulfillment. And there's a more subtle trap for those who make work their personality. I get it, you're ambitious and hungry to excel. So you do the corporate trainings and attend the workshops, learning how to navigate relationships, how to effectively communicate and provide feedback, negotiation tactics and stakeholder management. Again, very useful at work. However, through using this corporate style so often, it's very easy to start applying these at home. You can start managing people instead of relating to them. You start fixing instead of listening. And you start giving feedback when someone just wanted comfort. This is something I still do and struggle with without even realizing it. My fiance and I are currently in a 2-year long-distance relationship. We talk every day, but sometimes when she's telling me about her day, I stop listening because I'd be trying to optimize the conversation to get to the point faster. And I would come across as cold, clinical, selfish, and even manipulative. Simply put, you can't treat your friends and family like colleagues. They might still respect you, even admire you, but that connection that once was fades. And no, it's not because you've outgrown certain people. The third reason is what I call the modern world problem, where our environments have changed so rapidly and are now designed in a way where previous methods can't be used to achieve deeper connection. And that's the truth. 20th century solutions are obsolete in a 21st century reality. The back to the office agenda is a fallacy. It may deliver short-term results, but it's unsustainable in remaining competitive or attracting top talent. So we're definitely not suffering from a lack of connection tools. And it's not technology or that we spend too much of time online. Instead, we are suffering from a lack of attention and intention. You can reply to a message with haha and a bunch of laughing emojis, whilst your face stays completely straight and you feel nothing. We've all done this. And that's the point. Depth doesn't happen because you're technically available. Depth happens when you're attentive and intentional. Most of our time, our minds are half at work or thinking about the next thing. Or it's just tired, but you're physically present, but emotionally absent. And intimacy, real intimacy, that's attention plus presence over time. I learned that the hard way. Then there's what I call the digital mirage, where more connections feels like more connection. But deeper, meaningful connection has a cost. Time, attention, energy. It's simple math. If your energy, which is a fixed amount, is divided across many relationships, the depth of each relationship shrinks. Or imagine your time and energy as a watering can. If you water a few plants consistently, they grow. But if you try to water 50 plants with the same small can, every plant only gets a few drops each. And eventually most of them will wither. Same water, more plants, less growth. There's also a skill issue where many of us are functionally illiterate when it comes to digitally communicating. Yes, we can communicate digitally, but it's ineffective in building and deepening our connection. So we default to we don't spend enough time connecting in person instead of developing the right skills. And then we sit opposite each other in the office in silence and meet over Teams. Now, I'm not saying that we should forsake in-person interaction, but only focusing on in-person as the solution is not future-proofed for a 21st century reality. And finally, we're exposed to so many worlds than ever before, with different cultures, ideologies, lifestyles, and ways of connecting. That can be beautiful, but it can also be a bit disorienting, because part of belonging is actually understanding the rules of the room, knowing where you fit in and feeling safe enough to be yourself. So you can be in a crowded room, surrounded by people, and still feel alone because you feel unfamiliar, out of place, and that you have to perform in order to survive socially. This is where actually exposing yourself to more of these different environments is vital in order for you to be able to socially adapt. Now, if you're thinking, cool story, bro, but what do I actually do? Perfect. That's what we'll be focusing on in our Thursday video. The how behind building habits, nurturing relationships, and building depth where it matters the most. So if you remember one thing, let it be this. Loneliness isn't just about being alone. It's about not being known. And in a world that rewards performance, speed, and superficial interaction, you have to build depth intentionally. Otherwise, you'll just find yourself drowning in an overcrowded pool of connection. But I'm curious to hear from you. When have you felt the loneliest? Was it when you were alone or surrounded by people who didn't even know you? If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and turn your bell notifications on so you don't miss any future uploads. And follow me on other platforms, because this month we are exploring the art of connection. Thrive tomorrow, live fully today.